And good morning. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to the broadcast. If you're in the chat bar, go ahead and type me a hello. Let me know you're there. Hope you're doing well this morning. Thanks for coming. We have an exam today. Oh, fantastic. There we go. Hello to you, Gustavo. Hello to you, Angela. Oh, wow. Okay, fantastic. Let me adjust my chat bar here. Aha. Okay. Hi, Daniel. Good to see you. Thanks for coming today. All right. Jim Bro, good to see you. Thanks for coming. Appreciate that. All right. Excellent. Looks like we have a pretty good broadcast in the house. Broadcast in the house. Broadcast in the house. Okay. Nice. All right. I think I like that. I'm trying a new setup back here so to figure out how everything's going, and I'm liking the way it looks. Okay. Cool. Looks like we got 9 or 10 people in the class. Let's go ahead and talk about this exam that we've got coming up this weekend. Okay, let's see. Let's go to the whiteboard. Hopefully you can see my whiteboard. It's 60 minutes. And this is exam 2. 60 minutes. It's got 60 questions. And that's 15 on chapter 4, 15 on chapter 5, 15 questions on chapter 6, and 15 questions on chapter 7. Multiple choice, matching, true, false questions. Okay. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Hi, Crafty Table. Thanks for coming in. So that's the basic setup of the exam. All right. One attempt. Due Sunday by 11:59 p.m. Okay. Is the video frozen? I haven't noticed anything. Can somebody help give me a little feedback? Yeah, as far as... Right, yeah. All of my signals are telling me that my video's working. So I don't know what to tell you. My face isn't moving. Okay. How many of you experienced some sort of video slowdown or problem? I know that we have at least 2 people. So Jimbro and Gustavo both reported a little bit of technical problems. Anybody else? Huh. Okay. All right, good enough. Just want to make sure. Okay, so that's the basic format of the exam. Let's go ahead and talk about chapter 1. Let me go. 15 questions. All right. Okay, so, all right, one question. So, chapter 4, developmental. There's a matching question. Stages of prenatal development. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I would say there are probably 1 matching questions. There are probably 4 questions on plasticity, critical periods, let's see, what would we call that? Critical period. That's 2 questions. Critical periods. 1, 2. Let's say, and blooming and pruning. So these are general developmental concepts. Okay, so we need to understand plasticity, the idea of critical periods, and blooming and pruning. And I've got 4 questions on that. Okay, I've got 2 questions on Erik Erikson stages. So, 2 on Erik Erikson stages. Yes. Pick the stage based on the description. Okay. All right. Good morning. It seems we've got a bunch of other people in the classroom now. Fantastic. Good to see you. So we've got 2 questions on Erik Erikson. Let's see. What else do we have? Okay. Let's see. 1. Okay. There's 1 question on the domains of development. Remember, social, cognitive, and physical development. Physical development. 3 domains. Remember, in fact, I talked to you the first day about the physical development, second day I talked to you about cognitive development and social development. So we've got 2 of those questions. Let's see. 1, 2. 3, 4. Looks like about 4 questions on attachment. Why do monkeys bond? Attachment styles. How to test attachment. And normal infant fears. So those, I think, are the 4 questions on attachment. So that's 8, 10, 12. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, wow. All right. I'm sorry. There are 3 questions on Erik Erikson's. Okay. One. Oh, know what is well-being? It's okay. Thanks for coming at all. I appreciate you showing up, Lewis. So hopefully everybody can see what is well-being. And then one question on language milestones. 2, 6, 7, 10, 15 questions. Okay. Let me go back. Do we have any questions with regard to chapter 4? Okay. Let's see. Chapter 5, 15 questions. Okay. All right, let's go to chapter 5. Any questions? Any questions so far? Okay, let's see. All right. Are y'all ready? No questions? I'm waiting for questions and I don't seem to be getting any. So I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing. All right. So we're going to have some true false. What do you mean by well-being? In the beginning of the developmental psychology chapter, Daniel, I was suggesting to you that one of the advantages of developmental science is that it's helped people learn how to live longer lives. But not only do we live longer lives, we actually live better lives. Oh my goodness, it seems like I'm frozen. Huh. You do hear me, right? Oh, okay. All right. There's just a delay on the broadcast. But instead of just thinking about development in terms of how long we have people to live, we also want them to live happy and productive lives. And so we're not just interested in lengthening the average lifespan, but we also want people to live happier, better, more productive lives. I don't want you just to be alive at 90. I want you to be vital intellectually and emotionally. That's well being. Okay. All right, let's go to chapter 5 then. Let's go to chapter 5. Chapter 5 is all about sensation and perception, right? Chapter 5 is, let me go ahead and close chapter 4, chapter 5. Okay. Let's see, full text questions. Cone. Okay. Okay, so. All right. Okay. So, one. Okay. All right. So, let's see. There's one question on Gestalt vision cues. And you know what? It's going to be exactly like that question in your homework, except I'm changing the vision cue, okay? Cues. All right. So instead of being that one picture, it's going to be another picture, and I want you to identify that. Let's see. One question about super tasters. Let's see. What senses use chemoreception? I want you to know that. Let's see. Let's see. One question. No. Excuse me. That's one question. One question on the senses that use chemoreception. I'm sorry. Taste buds. Why do we have two ears? It's a question on why that. Let's see. Senses processed through the thalamus. I want you to know that. Remember, not all of them are processed through the thalamus. I want you to know. Okay. Oh, good God, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. There you go. You should be able to see it now. So one on the Gestalt vision cues, one question on what supertasters are, one question on the senses that use chemoreception, one question on why we have two ears, one question on the senses that are processed through the thalamus. Okay, so let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. One question on match sensory receptors to the sense. So hair cells equal what? Rods and cones equals what sense? Your let's see, nociceptors equal, so hair cells. Does anybody know what sense that is? What sense do we get from hair cells? I'm going to go ahead and type it in there. It would be, do you know? It's sound. Rods and cones, vision, pain. So I'm going to have you do a matching question kind of like that. Let's see. One question on thin versus thick pain fibers. Okay, let's see. Let's see. The relationship between the body part and amount of space on the cortex. Let's see. One question on describe rods and cones. I think I had a question on your homework where you describe either the qualities of rods or cone cells. I've got you the opposite question for the exam. I'm asking you about the other receptor cells. Let's see, and then the two questions on the pathway of visual processing. Okay. And the job of the superior colliculus, what does it do? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. Let's see. 1 question, 2 questions. Oh, 3 questions. Oh, okay. Parts of the ear. There's actually 3 questions related to the pathways of visual processing. Okay. And let's see. 1, 2. Oh, and then there's 1 question on visual depth perception. Okay, so that's 15 questions. Yep, hearing, very good. I see where your comment, Lewis, very good. It was hearing. Thank you for being able to answer that question. And so these are the 15 questions for chapter 5. Okay. Do you have any questions for chapter 5? Is there anything I could clarify for you for chapter 5? I'm trying to go through and be just as specific as I can, looking at the test questions without giving you the exact answer. I want to get you as close to the information as you possibly can. I'm going to wait for a second and see if we've got anything in the chat bar. It looks like my signal's coming through with a little bit of a delay. So, oof. That video quality is awful this morning. Okay. No questions? No questions so far? Let's see. So that was chapter 5, which was on sensation and perception. And then I've got 15 questions for chapter 6. So let's go back to the whiteboard. Chapter 6. Learning. 15 questions. Okay. 1. Okay. Okay, so there's a question on systematic desensitization. Desensitization. There's a question on shaping. There's a question on the partial reinforcement effect. Something happens when you shape something using partial reinforcement instead of continuous reinforcement. Okay, let's see. Okay, and then there's 1 match, pause reinforcement, pause punishment, neg reinforcement, neg punishment. 2 examples. There's 1 of those matching questions. Okay. Then there's just a, okay. And then there's 1 question on, and this is also matching. General behaviorist terms. I have a slide, it's in the first day, where I talk about acquisition, extinction, spontaneous recovery. So I've got a question about that slide that I'm going to talk about. Okay, let's see. There's a question on phobias and stimulus generalization. Okay, let's see. One, matching. Identify UCS, UCR, CS, CR. Matching in a classical conditioning. I think I had an example of of uh, of this matching with the classical conditioning and one with the operant conditioning. I have I have questions just like these in the homework. The only thing I did was I changed the examples, but it's the same concept. You're going to have these terms: positive punishment, positive reinforcement, negative punishment, and then examples of those. And then down here, you're going to have a classical conditioning example that includes all four of these items, and you're going to have to pick out the item. Um, so, I'm sorry, Louis Tappy did ask a question about visual depth perception. Is like the distance between objects. Yes, and how far objects are away from you. Louis, we suggested that there were two pathways to visual depth perception. One is visual disparity. You have two eyes sending two different, slightly different images to your brain. And then we also have some learned depth cues we call monocular depth cues. And I've got descriptions of both of those things in the PowerPoint slides. Okay, so let's see. And then 1, 2. Okay, let's see. Okay, so there are 3 general behaviorism questions. So maybe like classical versus operant. Um, 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 who is B.F. Skinner? Who is Ivan Pavlov? You know what I mean? General questions like that. Um, um, learning defined. Okay, so sort of those 3 questions. All right. Let's see. 1, 2. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. Okay. It looks like 2 questions about the behaviorists' beliefs about people. If you'll remember, I showed you several quotes by John Watson in our PowerPoint slides, and those quotes sort of espoused a general view of what people were and how they functioned. I'm going to ask you about the general behaviorist beliefs. Okay, let's see. Okay. And then 2 questions about punishers. And 1 question, read about Edward Tolman's cognitive map. Okay. All right. So I think that's 5, 10. That's 15 questions right there in chapter 6. Okay. Yeah, I hate to say it, Logan. Summer school moves super duper quick, and we are here with another exam. Okay, so here we are. Cognitive, 17 questions. All right, let me hide. 16 questions, I should say. Not 15, yeah. 15 questions. 15 questions. Who is the guy said your personality is genetic? Your personality is genetic. You would have been talking about Eysenk's, probably Hans Eysenck and his biological model of personality. Jadija, I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to. If maybe a little more detail, I can answer that question. Okay, let's see. We have 15 questions for chapter 7. 1, 2. Hold on. Okay. Okay, so 2 questions about sensory memory, the qualities of sensory memory. 1 question about short-term memory. 1 question matching the general terms of cognitive. And that's like encoding, storage, retrieval, etc., etc., etc. Let's see. I take that back. 2 questions about short-term memory qualities. Okay, let's see. 2 questions. 3 questions. 3 questions about brain areas and memory. And I'm even going to give you a trick. I'm going to give you a clue. Hippocampus, amygdala, and cerebellum. Those are the 3 brain areas. I want you to know what kinds of memories those 3 areas. So I've got 3 questions on those. All right. Let's see. That's that. I've got all the way down to there. Okay, 1, 2. 2. Okay. Oh, by the way, rehearsal. Let's see. 1, 2. 2 questions on those faulty memory examples in slides from 7B PowerPoint. Okay, I talked about Elizabeth Loftus' car crash. I talked about source misattribution. I talked about bias. So those, I've got 2 questions on those. Okay. 1 question on examples of implicit memories. I think on your homework, I asked you to give me examples of explicit memories. This time I want you to do examples of implicit memories. Okay, 1. You know what? There's only 1 question on long-term memory. So I noticed. 1 question on elaborative versus maintenance rehearsal. That's kind of a long-term memory question. Let's see. 1, 2, and then 2 general history of cognitive sight. So that's 5, 10, 15 questions right there. Okay. All right. So those are the exam questions for this second exam. I tried to be as specific as possible. I do want you to know what the hippocampus does for memory. I want you to know what the cerebellum, what kind of memories it stores, and I want you to know what. Okay, it looks like I froze for a moment. I do apologize for that, but I am now back. Yeah. So, does anybody have any questions? Do you have any questions about the exam? I've tried to be as specific as I possibly could. If you want me to go back to a chapter and talk about a particular question, if you want me to try and pry a hint or 2 out of me about what the question's going to be like, I'd be more than happy to do that right now. Cerebellum is procedural memories. Absolutely, absolutely. Any well-learned behavior is controlled by the cerebellum. Okay, right. You know, that I actually ran out of time and didn't do a good job of teaching. According to the behaviorist perspective, in order for something to be learned, it must be reinforced or punished. Okay? There is no learning without an environmental consequence. And furthermore, there is no such thing as a mind that could store up a map, if you will, of something in your head. Your knowledge of how to get from where you're sitting right now to the kitchen is not because you have a map of the kitchen in your head. It's because you were reinforced to walk that way, according to the behaviorists. All right? Now, what this fellow Edward Tolman did was he put these mice into a maze. You know, you've seen the psychology stereotype of the mouse running the maze to get the cheese, right? He did that very experiment. And what he did was he took a group of mice and he would put them in the maze every day, and he would put cheese at the end, and he would see how long it took them to get all the way to the cheese. And he would measure how long it took. And what he found was over a space of the week, these mice slowly, slowly started to learn the way towards the cheese, just like you would expect. In fact, let me show you a whiteboard right here. So, here we go. This is the day, the trial day. Okay, so this is the first day they did it, the second day they did it, the third day they did it, the fourth day they did it, the fifth day they did it, the sixth day. And what they found is that, and this is the time to find the cheese. And what they found was that with these rats, over the course of day, their time to find the cheese. And these are the rats that had cheese every day. All right. Now, he then took another set of rats and he put them in that same box. He put them in that same box, but he did not put cheese in the box for the first 5 days. And what he would do is he would measure how long it took for the rat to wander to that place where the cheese normally would be. And he found that the rats really showed no change in their speed in getting towards the place where the cheese normally would be. But on day 6, he would put cheese in the box, and what he found was these rats immediately went down to here. Okay? And so these rats didn't get cheese until 6th day. And notice what happens on the 6th day. You see what happens on the 6th day? Now, in a behaviorist world, you would expect the rats to slowly start learning their way to that spot in the maze. But what Edward Tolman found was that these animals had indeed learned how to get to that spot. There was just no reason to get there. As soon as they started getting cheese, they then found their way directly to that spot. So what this demonstrates is that these rats learned even though they weren't being reinforced. Does that make any sense at all? That probably doesn't. I'm feeling like I did a bad job describing that, Daniel. Basically, what Edward Tolman showed is that people store memories of things even if they don't have a use for that knowledge. Okay, I'm getting Louis Tapia is giving me an but Gustave saying it does make sense. It made a good amount of sense. I get what you're talking about. So, in a behaviorist world, to go back to the whiteboard, in a behaviorist world, the downward trend wouldn't start until you start getting reinforcing. Actually, I'm not going to write that down. In a behaviorist world, learning can't occur until the cheese starts getting put into the maze as a reward. But what Edward Tolman showed was that these rats had learned the location of the maze even before they were rewarded for it. He called it latent learning. Latent learning. I think that's actually in your textbook. Latent learning. It's learning that you have, but it's not useful yet. Now, in the behaviorist model, you might say, well, that's ridiculous. Why does anybody care about that? Of course they did. Here's the thing. In the behaviorist model, and I said this several times, and I don't think you people really appreciated how serious I was about this. The behaviorists really argued this point of view that there is no such thing as mental ability. That mental ability, if it does exist, is just secondary to what's going on. And what's more important is how that environment is shaping you with positive and negative reinforcements with classically conditioned associations. According to the behaviorists, there was no such thing as insight or ideas or creative sparks. Everything was a matter of conditioning. Okay? And that's that's why we talk about the fall of behaviorism. They set themselves up with such a rigid view of how human beings function that their their theory was proved to be false, and it was sort of pride goeth before a fall. The behaviorists were extremely proud of themselves because their animal studies really showed that animals could learn quite complex things. And so they thought this was a great way to explain how everybody worked. But so they underestimated the value. Actually, they didn't underestimate it. They thought it was zero. They thought the value of mental work wasn't interesting. They thought there was no value in what went on in your mind. Now, that's why when we get to chapter 7, and I told you, holy cow, the invention of the computer was a watershed moment for cognitive psychology. In fact, that is so important that that's even going to be on your exam. I want you to know that the invention of the computer is the most important historical event to the development of the cognitive psychology, because the computer was a thinking machine. It processed information, and scientists had made a box that could program things and get things done, that could process information and make decisions. And that was exactly what behaviorists argued human beings couldn't do. And so the computer was a demonstration, if you will. It was a proof of concept that we were leaving something off the table, because if a computer could think logically, could process information, surely a human being could. And I could spend a couple of days talking about the collection of research studies that kept demonstrating that we needed to think about the mind. But Edward Tolman is just one of many. But really, it was the invention of the computer that really kicked off people's belief in this idea of focusing on cognition or thinking. And whereas behaviorism ruled psychology from 1900 to 1950, cognitive psychology has ruled from 1950 to the modern day, because everybody talks about cognition, social cognition, developmental cognition, cognitive behavioral therapy. Everything is cognitive, cognitive, cognitive. Okay. All right. I have blathered on for almost 48 minutes. Hopefully these clues and tips will help you do well on the exam. Don't forget, your exam is due 11:59 Sunday night. If you have any problems, don't hesitate to send me a text and I will help you out. Otherwise, take care, have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you on Monday when we talk about intelligence testing. Take care.